Hello everybody, thank you for joining us today and watching this video while we make a Papercraft castle. So this particular castle, the instructions and the template are found in the link below with the video. We are creating this castle and it is from Canon Papercraft, so definitely check out their website for all of the amazing different papercrafts that they have. They don't just have the castle. They have a lot of different templates, a lot of different historical buildings, which I particularly like. But for this craft, we're basically just printing everything on cardstock and cutting everything out and then constructing this castle based off of the instructions right here. Today we're making the Japanese Himeji Castle, which is known as the White Heron Castle because of the way that its walls kind of sweep up from the landscape over in Japan. But this particular castle I thought was really interesting because they built this castle as a defensive castle and it never fell to invaders. So it was so well built that it was never captured. So it's a World Heritage Site as well, so I thought that would be a really nice castle to create, and it fits with our Summer of Imagination theme. So if you guys haven't joined our Summer of Imagination, that's just our summer reading program where you read books and complete activities to get prizes. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to go show you the materials that you need to make this castle, and then I'll walk you through constructing and part of the castle, not the entire thing, because this, like I said before, this is a very detailed, time-intensive craft. So I think the estimate is about 10 hours. So you don't want to start this craft thinking you can finish it in a day. You just want to take it in steps. And I won't film the entire thing of me making it, but I will show pictures with the video, hopefully in the comments below and on our Instagram and Facebook, to show the finished product. So here are the instructions for making your Papercraft castle. Other than printing the template on cardstock, you're going to need to print this out because you'll need to follow along. So these instructions for Canon Papercraft is really great, but they're contributors, so they don't always have instructions that are the same. For this particular castle, the Japan Himeji Castle, they're really good. The author of these instructions did really good about telling you how everything is placed. But before you start, you want to pay attention to the assembly instructions. So when you are cutting things out, if it's a solid red line, you'll have to cut there. If it's a solid black line, that means it's the outline, so you cut around it. If it's a dotted line, when you fold it, it's going to be a mountain fold, so like that. With a dot dash line, what you'll do is do a valley fold, so like that. And it also has the tools, materials, some assembly tips in case you need them. So for our materials today for our Papercraft castle, it's really simple stuff that you can find usually at home, but you'll need a ruler, some paper clips. Well, you don't need them, but I use them to help keep my pieces organized. Definitely scissors, cardstock. So lightweight cardstock I think is fine. You don't need anything super thick because that might inhibit the smaller pieces of your assembly. It'll make it a little bit harder. You need glue. So I use Elmer's No Wrinkle Rubber Cement just because rubber cement, if you apply it to both sides that need to be glued on, you just put them together and then it stays on really, really well. And it's not as messy and it holds really well. So that's my preference, but you can use any glue that you have. And then a sword. You definitely need a sword when you're making a castle. No, not really. And instead of a sword, the directions ask for a ballpoint pen that it has no ink in it, but for me, I had a really nice letter opener in the shape of a sword, and that's what I used. I'll show you on our next step why it's necessary. You just need something with a sharp-ish point, something that can make indentations, like you use it for scoring your piece. And so those are the materials you need for the most part. Super easy. The hard part is actually cutting everything out and then assembly. Okay, so the first step before you do anything else, before you even cut your Papercraft castle, what you'll want to do is score. So after you print your pattern on top of the cardstock, so this is cardstock, what you'll do is along all of the dotted lines, you will indent it. So the best way to do that is to take your ruler and, for example, this piece right here. So it has several little tabs that you'll use to glue. And what you'll do is you'll set it against the dotted line. I'm going to indent right along this line. So you'll go like this, and if you have a ballpoint pen with no ink or another semi-sharp object, what you'll do is you'll use a ruler and then just go along the line. So when you can feel the indent in here, if you scratch it, you can kind of, your fingernail gets stuck. You can also see it on the other side of the paper. So that's how you score. So you'll just go along and you'll use your ruler and you'll just create an indentation. So I do not recommend using a ballpoint pen with ink in it, because you will notice, as I explained earlier in the video, that the lines are different. So this one, I don't know if you guys can see it. So this is a dot line right here, so a regular dot. This one is a dot dash dot dot dash. So they get folded in different ways. If it's just a dotted line, you mount and fold it. If it is a dot dash, you will valley fold it. So you want to be able to see those lines, so you don't want to use a ball pen with ink to score your pieces, because you won't be able to see whether the line is dotted or not. And for areas, so like for this roof piece, that are a little bit curved, if you don't want to use a ruler, you can just carefully just trace along there like that and create your indent. So you'll do that for all of the lines for all your pieces. Okay, so after you finish scoring all of your pieces, what you'll want to make sure to do is, if you haven't done this already, is for all of your pieces you have to number them. So this is piece 2E, this is 2C, 2A, 2B, and when you're writing it, if you just kind of hold the paper to the light, you can see where to write it so it corresponds to the right piece. But numbering your pieces is extremely important, because after you cut it out, you don't want to lose track of which piece is which. So what I recommend doing is cutting out one piece or one sheet at a time and then grouping it. So for this sheet, it's 2, so you'll have all of the 2's all together. And then the paper clips that I showed you at the beginning are great for this, because you just paper clip all your pieces together. So this was sheet 3, and so I cut everything out, and then I paper clipped it together. So when the instructions tell me to reach for 3B, I can just go to the pack with all the 3's and just pull out the 3B. Makes it very organized and easier to assemble. As far as cutting goes, it's just your regular standard cutting of paper. So I recommend cutting each piece out and then doing the finer detail cutting around it. So you'll cut all the pieces out. One thing to make note of, as I mentioned at the beginning, is that if it's a solid red line, you're going to cut it out. So for these on page 2, these little triangles, you'll want to cut these out. But that's an exception and not really the rule. They don't show up that much in this pattern. But you'll want to cut everything out, and because you numbered everything, you'll be able to tell what piece everything is even after you cut off the specific, like this one is 2F, it says 2F on the back. So in that manner, you'll just cut everything out, and then when you're done, you'll have a pile of all of your pieces. Like I mentioned at the beginning, this piece is very intricate, So this particular castle is very intricate, but it looks amazing when it's done. So all of your hard work and patience pays off. I wouldn't recommend doing this castle all in one go, but if you do it in bits and pieces here, after you cut everything out, paper clip it, and get it all organized, you will be good to go. So now that we have everything cut, everything scored, we are ready to assemble. So for this part, I'm going to go over page 2 with all of you guys of the instructions. So we're going to assemble the parts from page 1 and page 3 into the top of the castle. So as I said at the beginning, I'm using rubber cement, and so for that I went ahead and pre-prepped all of my pieces. So I put the glue where all the pieces are supposed to stick together, and then everything should just stick together quite nicely with the rubber cement, but you don't have to use rubber cement. Feel free to use other types of glue. Just know if you are using rubber cement that you need to prep your pieces and make sure you have glue on all the sides that things are going to stick together. So it's a little bit more complicated, so I went ahead and did that part. And so now we are ready for the assembly. So you're going to want to start with your pieces. I believe these are the 2 pieces. I numbered them in the middle of the triangles that I cut out. 2A and 2C, I believe. So you're going to go ahead and start putting those together. So I already applied my glue, and so these go together like this. And then like that. Line it up a little bit better. And even if you don't cut everything out perfectly or glue it out perfectly, this castle in particular has enough detail, so it's very forgiving of mistakes, which is nice. I went ahead and also folded it, and when you fold these, you'll notice that because of the scoring, everything just folds so much easier. So you have 2A and 2C, and then for your next step, when you're looking at the instructions, these instructions are very nice, but they have the number of the piece you need, and also in the little bubbles the order that you put everything in. And then when you're gluing, just if you're not using rubber cement, just pay attention to at the beginning of the instructions, if there's a red dot, you're gluing parts with the same number together. If it's a green spot, then it's gluing within the same part, and a blue spot is glued to the rear of another part. So for those, you have to be especially careful of when you're doing rubber cement, because that means you need to apply glue to the other side. But anyway, so we got 2A and 2C together, and now I'm going to take 2B and 2D, and we're gonna cover those inside holes. And like I mentioned at the beginning, it's extremely useful to have your parts numbered, so you can tell everything apart. Make sure I'm folding everything the right way for this one. They're doing this in particular, this particular piece is slightly curved. That's why you cut out the inside. So if you can see, it's a little curved. Like that. Now we'll do the other side. flat curved roof, slightly curved roof. Okay, so that was 2B and 2D. And now we're gonna go ahead and take, we're gonna take 2E, so this piece, and 2F. We're gonna put on the insides of the, oh, I missed one step, which is step 2 was to take 2J, so our little long piece, and put it over our roof. So that one, when you're cutting it, make sure you had a little, you cut along the red mark. I did it for one end and not the other. That's okay. Like that. And so that's for little ornaments on the top of the roof. So Papercraft is very detailed and a little bit fragile, but you're basically making paper models. So for those of you who like making models, the time and the patience is well worth it. This side didn't come out as nice, but that side came out good, better. But that covers my roof. Makes it a little bit sturdier. And now we are ready to move on to 2E and 2F. So this is 2E. So for this one, we're gonna attach the roof here. And I know with Papercraft sometimes the sheer amount of instructions and pieces can be very daunting, but if you go through it step by step, it's not so bad if you have the patience for it. So like that. And little tabs slip under to create like a rectangle box. That's 2E, and then we don't want to forget these as well. So it goes like that. The other side, attach that. And if it helps, so I'm taking my sword just to help press against it. Make sure that the glue is sticking. Like that, perfect. And you have the E, and then we're going to do the same for the other side. So as you can see, the pattern is coming together. Careful not to leave your tabs out. Like that. It's already starting to come together very, very nicely. Alright, so our next step is to attach 2G to this. So it goes like this, and then it wraps all the way around. That was 2G all assembled, and it's going to fit just like that on top of all the tabs, hopefully. When you're assembling your pieces, you don't want to force something that doesn't want to happen. You can always use your scissors to adjust things, but you don't want to rip or tear any of your pieces. If you can help it. But paper is also kind of forgiving, so you can kind of squish things into place, which is very nice. A little bit different from metal models. So now we have that nice base. And you'll notice that it doesn't, little rounded tops don't quite glue into anything, which is fine. Like they're there just for the effect. So when it's sideways, you'll just see it look like that. Okay, so now we are going to step 10 and 11. So we're gonna take 2I and 2H and attach it to the base. And it doesn't really matter what side they go on, they're mirror images of each other. So you just slip it up like this. Glue. Press if you're using the rubber cement like that. Go ahead with the other side, like that. And now we are going to all of your number 3 pieces. So these were most of the 2 pieces from sheet 2, and we're going to go ahead to number 3 next. All right, so the rest of page 2 of your instructions, we're going to deal with the number 3 pieces. So all of the pieces from sheet 3, they should be numbered 3A, 3B, so on and so forth, like this one. And so we've already constructed most of the top of the castle with the parts from sheet 2. And then now we're gonna do it with the rest of the sheets 2 and sheets 3. So for our first step, for sheet number 3, we are going to take 3B. So this is 3B. And this is a rounded part right here, so you can try to round it out with your fingers a little bit. Or a pen if you have one. And for that, you'll notice right here, you have some points. So this is going to be on the little sides, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you put it to the corresponding red points, which are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. then we're going to do like that little square shelf like we've been doing for the second parts. Again, I'm going to take my little sword and kind of help secure it so the pieces. There we go. Now the other side. That. And so now with 3F, we're going to do the same thing. It's like this when you're done. Then I go to the other side. Remember that area is curved. This down here. This down here. And then go ahead and construct that little ledge of the roof. Like that. Nice little shelf all the way around, or a nice little roof all the way around. Alright, so now we're going to go back to the remaining of your part 2. So we have 2N, 2N, here, 2N, 2K, 2L, so basically L, M, N, or K, L, M, N. Are the leftovers for the K's, and they're gonna go right up here. So you'll want to just grab one of the L or the M's, and it doesn't really matter which is which. Like it doesn't matter if you put L with M or L with K, because they're the same, they're mirror images. You attach it like this. Sure it's secure, and then you'll come over here, attach it like this. Nice and secure. So it looks like that. Now we'll do the other side. That. And at this point, I'm basically just following the instructions on the paper. So this is just me showing you an example of how this castle is going to be done. A lot of the instructions are just repeats. So you're going to be making these ledges, you're going to be adding little tiny roofs on top of the big roofs, you're going to be putting the base around it. So it's just over and over again like a layered cake, and it just goes bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, like that, for the most part. So now we have 2 of the tiny roofs done. So that's all of the pieces from sheet 2 should all be used up by now. And we're on, for sheet number 3, we are on, we already did step 7, which is that we attach these little ledges together. And hopefully they're sticking correctly. So all of these are all attached like a nice little square. Now we are going to take these tiny little pieces. So we have 3A and 3K, or 3E. So they're gonna stick right here. So this one says 3A, so we put 3A there. Struggle is real. There. That's 3A. All these little details make for a very nice finish. And 3E. And I guess we skipped a couple steps, but that's okay. We're 3A and 3E are steps, or step 12. Okay, so now these are attached to the best of our ability for the all ones. We're going to add another layer, so that's going to be 3I. Take 3I and we're going to assemble it first. It's a nice rectangle, like that. And we're going to go ahead and place it. So it goes like this. And for these, I found it's helpful to attach one piece on one side first, and then going to the other sides after. Piece on, and then suddenly you have your next layer all good to go. Okay. So we're just about done with all of our pieces from sheet 3, and so now we are moving on to step 10 and 11. So we're going to take 3J and 3K and we're going to attach those to the base, right? And so they go on the sides where there's these little triangles right here. And it doesn't really matter which side goes on which, they're mirror images of each other. It goes on like here. It goes in like here. That. So now we are working on our third layer of the castle. And now for step 13. So these have these odd little pieces right here. I remember cutting these out and I'm thinking, oh, how do these even go on? But we will figure that out. So these are the last of the pieces. So we have 3 C, D, G, H, and then L, M, N, O, P. Missing one, it was stuck to my arm, which was nice. So for this, we're gonna go ahead, technically they're mirror images of each other, but what we're gonna do is, it's a little bit complicated in that you have to make sure that the right corner goes on the right part. So for these pieces, these little red tabs are gonna stick to the red right here, so like this. And then this is going to be the corner of a roof. But first we're going to go ahead and attach the corresponding. So do this first. And we'll skip that step. So you want to do... Well, I feel the instructions are telling you to attach this to this first. So this to the structure first, but I'm going to go ahead and attach these on here first. So it's going to be the blue dots. So remember, blue goes to another piece, red, blue goes to the back of another piece, red goes to another piece. So I'm going to attach these to them. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for all of them. Doesn't matter which goes to which, they're all mirror images of each other, they're the same piece. Like that. That. And the last one. Right here. So then you have your piece like this, and then it's attached. And so you'll take your red, although I think it would be better, so you see this little part that says 3I, you're going to go ahead and tuck it under, attach it, like that. You have a little tab there. Get it to fit as best as possible to cover the little back. Then you also have another triangle piece or another roof kind of ledge piece. Stick that on there. That. You'll do that for all of these pieces. So once you complete those and you stick them all on, you'll have a very nice 3-layer top of your castle, and you can keep going along with the instructions. So here is the half-finished Himeji Castle. So as you guys progress through the instructions, like, you'll slowly build up your castle. This particular papercraft has a lot of small pieces, a lot of small details, but as you progress, it'll slowly come together, as you can see. So again, I want to thank Canon Papercraft for letting us use their instructions and template for this particular castle. The link for the instructions and the template are below in the comments, so definitely check that out. And if you find this Papercraft a little bit too hard to do, they have a bunch of different ones, so they range from extremely difficult like this one to extremely easy, but all of their creations are a lot of fun and not really supply heavy. All you need is cardstock or just paper just to make these amazing designs. So for the full castle, I'm going to go ahead and post pictures in the comments below with the video. We're going to post them with the video and then post them on our Instagram and Facebook, so check those out. So we'll show pictures of all of the castle from every angle once it's all done. And you never know, you might walk into one of our library branches and find the castle just hanging out on one of our displays or on one of our shelves. So thank you guys for joining me with the Papercraft Castle craft that we have been working on, and I hope that you enjoyed it.